Forests make up almost a third of our global land, and it's the home of over 80% of terrestrial biodiversity found on our planet. Some of us might think that these places are creepy and scary, but in reality, 1.6 billion people depend on forests to live. Trees provide us with everything from paper, rubber, medicine, and more. But aside from nature's blessing, what other things can you find in the forest? From the devil's tramping grounds to free hugs, here are the 15 most mysterious forest discoveries in the world. Number 15. The Devil's Tramping Ground. We're all familiar with classic indie horror films that take place in the middle of nowhere. The Devil's Tramping Ground seems to be one of the places where exorcisms and all sorts of creepy stuff occur. As sinister as its name sounds, the Devil's Tramping Grounds is just an empty circular patch found at Breek Creek in the woods of North Carolina. Despite the abundance of trees and grass growing around it, the dusty circle in the middle remains barren of plant life, aside from some wiry grass. It seems like nothing can remain in the circle. There are stories claiming that no matter how many things you put inside the circle, you'll always find it clean and bare the next day. There are several stories surrounding this patch of land. Some people believe that the spot was once an ancient meeting place for the Native American tribes that settled near the area. The patch may have been a remnant of their ceremonial dances and rituals. Some also claim that this place is where the devil comes to dance, hence it's always cleared of any debris. Many people have claimed that they see red glowing eyes in this location. But hey, it is a forest after all. There was once a brave journalist from Greensboro that was so intrigued by the circle that he spent an entire night in the location. He didn't see any devil, but he claimed to have heard ghostly footsteps circling his tent. Is the devil really conniving here during the dusk, or is this place just made sinister because of the legends many believe about it? Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now. Number 14. Plastic-eating fungi. Nature truly is amazing, and this is one of the many reasons why. We have started producing about tons and tons of plastic since the 1950s, and we continue to do so today. Researchers recently made an incredible discovery that could help us regulate the number of plastic wastes on our planet. It sounds impossible, but there are actually plastic-eating mushrooms out there. One of these rare mushrooms were discovered by students that explored the Amazon rainforest in 2011. The fungus is called Pestiloteuopsis microspora. Usually, plastic takes hundreds of years before they decompose. But with the help of this fungus, this process can be hastened significantly. We can't really expect these shrooms to resolve our waste problems in one swoop, but they are a step in the right direction. Today, scientists still continue to research this fungus and how we can improve and utilize them properly. Number 13. Ancient Forest. Take a look at this incredible wonder. Who knew that such a beautiful forest is hiding in the middle of an enormous sinkhole in China? That's not all. The forest is considered primitive, and it's filled with a variety of species that are still unknown to us today. The sinkhole is over 1,000 feet in length, almost 500 feet wide, and 630 feet deep. It's located in the Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region in Lei County, China. I guess we have a lot of new creatures to watch out for. Number 12. The Sentinelese people. On this isolated island filled with trees lives an endangered tribe that refuses to have contact with outsiders. These are the Sentinelese people living in North Sentinel, India. Initially, it was thought that there were about 8,000 of them, but after being invaded by colonizers, their numbers dwindled. Today, only 50 to 150 of them are estimated to be alive. This tribe remains to be the most isolated in the world, and they've captured the attention of millions all around the world. However, there's nothing more they want than isolation and solitude. They continue to resist contact with outsiders, and they're known to aggressively react to anyone that tries to come near their island. Little is known about them. We don't know what they call themselves, their state of living on the island, how far they've advanced, their traditions. Almost everything about them is unknown. Number 11. Mysterious carnivore in Borneo's forests. If you like felines, then you'd be thrilled to know that they recently spotted this cat-like creature lurking in the forests of Borneo. The animal is only slightly larger than a domestic cat, but it has a coat akin to a fox. It has red fur and a long bushy tail. It was only caught on camera twice. As you can see in the photos, The creature looks similar to a marten and a civet cat. The locals claim that they had never seen the creature before, and no one could identify what the creature was. We discover hundreds to thousands of species each year, but almost half of them are insects, and it's very rare to discover new species of carnivores. For this reason, researchers are all ecstatic to know more about this animal. However, because it is the first time that the animal was spotted, it's highly possible that its population is incredibly small. There's a huge chance that even if we just started getting glimpses of this creature, we might never truly identify it, especially if their natural homes continue to be threatened. Number 10. Stairs to nowhere in New Hampshire. Have you ever encountered some stairs that lead to nowhere while you're exploring the woods? These stairs are often found deep in the woods, and they're often seen when it's nearing dusk. No one knows who built them, and no one knows when exactly they first appeared. Some people claim that these stairs sometimes appear out of nowhere. In 2019, stories about them spread all throughout the internet after one Reddit user shared their own spooky story regarding these mysterious stairs. The story was meant to be purely fictional. Its main intent is to capture the attention of some readers and spook them out. And yet, the story spread like wildfire, and soon enough, a couple more people started sharing photos of stairs that they saw in the middle of the woods. According to stories and legends, these stairs lead to another world where humans aren't meant to go. People are warned to never climb up these stairs because there's a huge chance that they'll disappear, never to be found again. Some of these alleged stairs aren't really confirmed to exist, but this staircase in New Hampshire has been seen by many. This staircase was once part of Madame Sherry's castle in Chesterfield. This skeleton of a stone staircase holds a lot of history. Madame Sherry was known for her eccentricity and what some would call scandalous behavior. She was born Antoinette de Lillas in Paris, and she changed her surname along with her husband. She made a name for herself by creating costume designs, and there she accumulated wealth. One summer, she fell in love with the land of New Hampshire, and with the wealth and resources, she purchased 600 acres of land in Chesterfield. Soon enough, a mini castle stood in the middle of the woods. This stone staircase was once called the Stairway to Heaven, leading to a magnificent castle. But today, it's only associated with paranormal activity. Flashy parties have been thrown in this castle continuously, with each party seemingly more extravagant and luxurious than the other. Sadly, Madame Sherry couldn't keep up her lavish lifestyle, and it wasn't long until the entire castle was abandoned and left for ruin. Soon enough, the castle became a target for vandalism and ghost hunting activities. On October 18, 1962, the castle was nearly ruined by fire, leaving only traces of the once magnificent structure. This grand staircase is still considered to be a legacy of Madame Sherry, and according to many, they sometimes feel as if there's still spirits lingering around the forest. Number 9. Happy Yoda Bat. I'll let you decide whether you think this new species of bat is cute or not. Meet the Yoda Bat. This new species was recently discovered in the rainforests of Papua New Guinea, and we all know where its name came from. I mean, look at its face and you'll see this bat's resemblance to that one character. You know who I'm talking about. Formerly, it's known as the Hamamas tube-nosed fruit bat. Hamamas literally translates to happy in the region's local language. Sometimes scientists give great names. You gotta admit that these bats do look like they're eternally grinning, as if they're trying to stop themselves from laughing at their own jokes. Aside from their smiley faces, another distinct feature of them is their tube noses. Bats often look similar to each other, but these guys are a bit different. Their habits are similar to other bats, but their features make them stand out from the others. They aren't actually smiling, but their big round jaws give the impression that they are. Currently, there are 18 known species in the tube-nosed fruit bat genus. They're all found in northern Australia, Melanesia, the Philippines, the Solomon Islands, and some parts of eastern Indonesia. It almost seems as if these bats are happy to finally be officially recognized all around the world. Number 8. The Lost Stone Head of Guatemala. This picture shows the gigantic stone head that was uncovered deep within the jungles of Guatemala. It almost reminds you of the heads in Easter Island, except they have fine features. The statue has thin lips, eyes, and a large nose. The discovery rapidly gained attention throughout the world, but it also quickly dissipated. This photo is the first and last piece of evidence that the stone head existed at all. Still today, there's still no clear lead regarding the location of the stone head. According to some sources, the stone head has been taken by a Guatemalan landowner who perished before he could share the location of the head. Wrong timing, I guess. This photograph was allegedly taken in the 1950s, and since then, people have been out in search of this enormous stone head. Some claim that the stone head was destroyed in 1981 when revolutionaries used the statue for target practice. Of course, the ancient artifact was obliterated, at least according to the stories. Some people still claim that the face is still intact, but no one could pinpoint its exact location. The face is sometimes linked to La Democracia, a small town famous for its Olmec-style stone heads, which somehow look similar to the original stone head photographed in the 1950s. But there's no clear indication that the stone heads have similar origins. Most people also point out that the features of the two heads are incredibly different, which could mean that they have little to no connection with each other. Number 7. The Lost Headstone of the Lady of the Night. Take a look at this headstone found in Santa Cruz County, California. The inscription reads, "Here lie the remains of Marie Holmes, a lady of the night, who on the evening of May 5, 1898, met a lonely and untimely end with a quaffing of carbolic acid. Born in England, she resided in San Francisco, Salinas, and Watsonville before spending her last few months in Santa Cruz, where she died in the streets outside the Merrill Brothers Saloon. Marie Holmes was known in Santa Cruz, and she's still recognized by some more than a century after her death. Forced to work in poor circumstances and terribly missing her daughter, Marie took her own life by intaking carbolic acid. Many mourned the loss of Marie, and many continued to visit her resting place. However, one day, her headstone suddenly vanished. It wasn't surprising considering many of the headstones from Evergreen Cemetery were either stolen or broken, especially between the 60s and the 70s. Many lost hope in finding the headstone of Marie until a hiker stumbled upon it while exploring the woods. This stone is more than 100 years old, and the folks at the local museum expressed their gratitude and relief at the discovery of the headstone. The pioneers of the town were said to be forgotten, and many would appreciate the town's history if they learned more about Marie Holmes, the so-called Lady of the Night. Number 6. The Lost City of El Mirador. Nature is quick to reclaim its territory, and the lost city of El Mirador is just one of the numerous ruins that have been covered by a sea of trees, almost forgotten by mankind. Deep in the Petén jungle in Guatemala lies the ruins of El Mirador, barely visible in the canopy of trees. These ruins are incredibly hard to locate in the endless sea of trees. In 1885, a part of the Mirador Basin was surveyed by Claudio Urrutia, and he was the one that first noted the presence of the ruins. However, the lost city only gained the attention of the authorities in 1962. By 1978, a detailed investigation of the ruins began. El Mirador existed from the 6th century BCE to the 1st century BCE. It reached its apogee in the 3rd century BCE, and then mysteriously, it experienced a huge hiatus from construction and development until it was completely abandoned for generations. It was later reoccupied, but was abandoned for the second and last time sometime in the end of the 9th century. At this time, the Maya civilization suffered because of a huge drought. This only started the fall of this civilization. The Maya also dealt with overpopulation, environmental degradation, warfare, and shifting trading routes, which led them to their downfall. It's amazing to think that a sophisticated civilization once lived in these forests. Despite a long time of abandonment, it's still praised as the cradle of Maya civilization. It isn't really surprising considering El Mirador is the biggest Mayan site in Central America. Its entirety is about 9 kilometers wide, and it's filled with more than 850 structures. But the most remarkable and astounding structure of the archaeological site is the largest pyramid in the world by volume, the Danta Pyramid. Unlike the pyramids of Giza, which are covered completely from base to tip, the pyramids found in El Mirador have sections. Aside from the pyramids, El Mirador also features roads and temples that show intricate architecture. They had great urban planning, water collecting systems, and paved roads. Hopefully, through the discovery of these sites, we can learn more about this magnificent civilization that once flourished in the forests of Guatemala. Number 5. Bicycle Tree. It's common to see trail cameras while walking in the woods, especially if there's a lot of wildlife in the area. It's also common to see some trash here and there left behind by campers and hikers. But certainly, you wouldn't really expect to find a bicycle stuck in the middle of a tree while you're walking in the woods. Upon seeing this spectacle, you'll probably be stumped. You might scratch your head and ask yourself just how on earth a bicycle ended up between a growing tree. This curious sight can be found in the woods of Vashon Island, Washington. The most popular lore is that in 1914, a young man leaned his bicycle against this tree. However, he didn't get the chance to retrieve his bike because he was deployed to fight in the war, and he never returned. And so, the tree consumed the bicycle into its own trunk, and two became one. This story is short, romantic, and tragic. It fits the melancholic image of the bicycle, but sadly, it's not the truth. According to the locals, the tree bike that became a mini attraction in the area actually dates back to the 1950s. It belonged to a boy named Puzz, who received the bike as a donation after their house burnt down. Despite receiving the bike as a generous gift, the bike sadly didn't fit Puzz, and it was too small for him. One day, Puzz and his friends played in the woods, and instead of riding the bike back home, he simply left it in the middle of the woods, where it was soon swallowed by the tree. A bit anticlimactic, I know, but you're free to believe whichever lore you want to. Regardless of the bike's real backstory, the sight is still astounding to see. Number 4. Little People Village. Tucked away in the woods of Middlebury in Connecticut was the so-called Little People's Village. You might want to brace yourself because this story is about to get a little tragic and creepy. These tiny houses were allegedly built by a man that lost his sanity, along with his wife that was said to be a witch. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? According to local legends, this old stone house was once the home of a husband and wife. It sounds like a peaceful life, but not long after living in the woods, the woman started noticing some tiny people around their house, and she requested for her husband to build them a home. And so, the first house of the tiny village was constructed by the husband, who followed his wife's request. One house was followed by another until the tiny village was formed. Sadly, the fairy folk descended into madness and dragged the couple down with them. This story is pretty bizarre, but it's one of the most popular explanations behind this tiny village. Another explanation is that a lone man built the village after being forced by the little people. He soon was driven into madness, and soon the stone house was abandoned, and all that remained is this little village. Most people say that this little village is haunted or cursed, but if you have the courage to visit and explore the area, I believe you're free to do so. Number 3. Abandoned Village in Lancashire. If you want to explore a quiet and peaceful village where cars are forbidden and only walking travelers are permitted, then you might be interested in this abandoned village. Wycoller was once a handloom weaver's village, but because of the Industrial Revolution, it was abandoned by its residents who decided to move out and join the quickly advancing textile industry in the towns of Lancashire. The residents never bothered to return to their homes, and over the next years, the village quickly turned into ruins. Today, you can still see the 1,000-year-old clam bridge with its single slab of gritstone above the waters of Wycoller Beck. You can also see here the Packhorse Bridge, which dates back to the 13th century. But the main attraction is the grand mansion of Wycoller Hall. You're free to explore the area, but beware, because it was said to be haunted. Number 2. Miniature coffins. Satanic spell, ancient ritual, or ancient art. These are a few of the explanations behind this creepy discovery. In June 1836, a group of boys headed into the woods of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh to hunt for rabbits. But instead of some small game, they stumbled upon these creepy miniature coffins with tiny carved figures inside. No one knows who created these coffins, and for what reason. I think we can all agree that no matter what the history of these coffins, they're undeniably haunting and eerie. Number 1. Free hugs. Let's just continue down the horror route and take a look at these abandoned establishments in the middle of the woods. The first photo shows a hut that earned the nickname Free Hugs Hut. It's quite obvious how it got its name. I can only imagine what's inside this abandoned hut with the words Free Hugs written on the outside. Who could have written this, and what lies inside? Was this created merely as a hoax to scare off people? Or is something sinister actually lurking inside? This next photo seems to have a similar theme. Who wouldn't be spooked if they saw this message while exploring an abandoned establishment? In the first place, I don't think it's a good idea to snoop around a house in the middle of nowhere. You know how horror movies begin. Which of these discoveries intrigued you the most? And do you know any creepy forest stories? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.